So good evening, my name is Matt Payne and I'm going to be talking through all of the action on the Donny Chain Gang, which is now in a slightly upgraded version. And first job is to say a massive thank you to the guys up there, to Zwift, because all the extra high-res images, all the extra power is coming courtesy of them. My power coming, big thanks to the guys at Grand Tour Coffee. Russ, of course, riding on his Wahoo trainer, which is somewhere down about there. Not able to go to New York yet this year, so we're going to get these sponsors in really quick. But a massive thank you, more importantly, to all of you who are riding and all of you who are watching, because you're the guys that mean that we can actually bring you all of this. I'm down in my cellar at the moment. My studio down here is increasingly soundproof. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work all the way through. We are going to be testing out a little bit of tech today that maybe we've not had as much time as we would have wanted to get right, so I'm going to keep both sets of fingers crossed. Keep knocking down the coffee. My Grand Tour coffee is already well and truly filled up. I probably can't show you just how much of it I've drunk. I probably better not show you how much of it I've drunk. I'm probably going to need more supplies for Big Ben over there. It's pretty warm tonight. We've got a new course as well. I'm going to bring you some of the details on that in a second. We're going to probably jump across pretty quickly to Russ, the man who stitched it all together. You can see him on your screen at the moment, just over there on the side, heading that direction. Got to breathe in a little bit to do that. So Russ has been working very hard behind the scenes to make sure everything is stitched together, and of course we're looking forward to going to Paris. If you've not seen it, big launch of some fantastic routes. Have a little bit of a look round those on Zwift Insider, who are doing a fantastic job already of getting those mapped out. Really looking forward to that. But Russ has been getting ready so that we can get out there and ride on those routes, and as soon as that's going to happen, we're going to be over there with the Donny Chain Gang, I'm sure. Although whether we'll do the mountain station one too, that remains to be seen. Now tonight is a mountain top finish, or a London Mountain, Surrey Hills finish, with Keith Hill. And that's not some famous singer. This is Keith Hill, the hill out on the Surrey Hills that we're going to actually be using for our finish. So now we do a couple of laps of the Great London before we go out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to drop across pretty quickly, I think, to Russ. So let's see. He looks like he's in his man cave and pedaling away rather nicely. So as we get ready to jump across to Russ, let's see what he's up to. I think the sound is going to be, the tunes are going to be banging. So Russ, are you there?
Only just, mate.
Excellent. You're looking good on the bike there, on the Pinarello, of course.
Yeah, I don't know about feeling good, but yeah, it's been a busy day. You know, not like to have a little pedal in the morning to use the legs, but none of that this morning. Bit of a dog walk, but yeah, we've had a busy day. You know, getting all this stuff down in the dirty, you know, the alien weathers with providers. The game on the screen, and what's this creating more work? So I don't think
definitely creating more work. I seem to have spent more time down in the studio than I have on my bike recently, which is not good. It's probably shown, you know, got to change the camera angle or something. So you're all set, ready to go, and we've got a big top finish on top of Keith Hill. What's the planning? How long are you going to try and hold all this little lot together on the run round?
About 5 minutes, I think. Joking apart, you know, London's. It's pretty nice to roll around in a big group, so a big group at the bottom of Keith Hill, if that'll happen, I don't know. So we'll have the usual 2.5k rollout, keep everyone together, and just try and get some good numbers to the bottom of the climb, and then let everyone loose and see how it goes. So it should be good fun. Excellent.
I'm going to let you get warmed up. We're going to drop across, I think, over to the standard shot of you warming up as an avatar rather than real life, but I'm sure we'll be catching up with you a little bit later on. So thank you very much, Russ, and we'll speak to you very shortly indeed.
Have a good ride, Matt.
So a big thank you to Russ. You can just see his avatar on screen at the moment. We're going to quickly jump away from him and the start line, and that's quite simply because what we want to bring you is some of the stats on this ride. We've talked about just how hilly this is. Now, first of all, we're going to show you the map of the route. This is Keith Hill, and this is really complicated. If you follow the blue dot that's on its way round at the moment, you can see it goes round in a anti-clockwise route from the start round Greater London Flat. And the blue dot being our riders, goes up to Constitution Hill and through the green sprint the wrong way to normal. Then head out on the right direction in an anti-clockwise loop round Greater London, the opposite way we've just come. So we go around, do that, and then we don't go through the sprint. We go back out past our start, which is the orange dot, and onto the climb. This is the big climb of Keith Hill up to the top of the hill. So once again, out on the lead in away around the river, round Greater London flat in the opposite way to we usually do as on the chain gang, and then run around into the sprint in the opposite direction. This is a much harder sprint on the way through, so we're going to see a little bit of different action on the way around. Then into where the London Classic course goes, do a flip round and go the other way back out on the way we normally go on the chain gang, underneath the underpass by the top of the Serpentine, and then back towards the start, which is bumpy, and then onto the big climb. Really, really tough stuff. So you really need to keep an eye on how the riders approach that. And the reason it's tough stuff is because of this. Yes, this over there is the profile. Massive thank you to the guys at Velaviewer turning, all the gang. It's powered by Strala, but the guys at Velaviewer are absolutely instrumental in making this happen. Now, the run in itself, it starts on the left-hand corner of the screen as you're looking at it, and it comes towards the very flat little loops. It does all these little loops, which normally we show you in great detail. We don't need to tonight. That's quite simply because we're going to be going up and away from those onto the climb, and you can see just how big the climb of Keith Hill is. Now, not too much in the way of dark red and black, 25% on there. In fact, the whole ride averages out at only 0.6%. That is because we spend so much time rolling around. In fact, we head out at about 30k of the 36k up onto the climb. And then Keith Hill itself, it's pretty brutal. It probably averages about 8%, around about that mark, depending on how the riders are going. That's going to be a tough ask at the end. We'll see who's in that leading group when we get there. So the clock is ticking down. We're going to run in and bring you all of the action. As you can see, our riders are about to head out, and we're going to take a little look across. I think we're going to find a quick run out for the riders on the course, heading into the last few seconds. So our camera is shooting down on to the riders now, and as you can see, everybody is starting to head out here, and the view of these riders as they go out is going to be really interesting to see as they head out on the course. So we're going to go over to our main camera out on the course, which will give us an even better view for you as the riders head out and around. So the riders are now out on course. We're going to take a little bit of a hunt through. There are one or two famous names in here, including Olympian Lucy Hall. So we're just going to take a quick look at Lucy out on the course. So Lucy wearing the jersey. Now, if you've watched before some of the coverage, you'll notice there's a bit of a difference. No longer is it the pixelated ZX81, you know, Daley Thompson's triathlon, or similar, you know, decathlon. It is a proper full-on Zwift game experience that you might get at home. And we'll say a massive thank you to the guys at Zwift for that. So the guys are out and riding, looking good at the moment, and certainly looks to me like the guys doing a fantastic job out there. So we're going to say a big thank you to Zwift. Without them, we can't make this happen. So at the moment, looking really good out there. The riders are just starting to get all of the riders looking good. They're working their way around the course, and just looks to me like it is getting a little bit interesting out there. You just hear the roar of the wheels as these riders start making their way out along. And if you've not seen Zwift before, there's a few things we need to tell you. First of all our riders have an avatar, and their avatar is unique to them as a rider. Now, the rider's avatar will vary. If we take a little bit of a look up at Lucy there in the blue, their avatar is changeable. You can change it for your hairstyle, your body size, the colour of kit you want to wear, whether you want to be riding which particular bike, what set of wheels, and we'll bring some more details on those in a little while. All of our riders are getting drafted when they're in the bunch, and if we take a little bit of a look up and a look back, you'll see that this group is quite a big group here. Some very famous names in this group. Good to see Andy Verrill come in and join us this time around. But Hall is in there. We're going to be able to take a view from Hall's actual eye of view. If we move from that side view across, this is actually as if it was a helmet cam, and looks like this is just working way up in towards the very front of the group there, going just down the side, and currently sitting in third rider. We can actually take a watch of the group as they come past, with Lucy right up in the front of that group, and we can of course bring you the camera shots as well, so we'll be keeping you all that information. Lucy highlighted on the right hand side of your screen, and that's because she's the rider that we're following on the camera as this big bunch make their way along the side of the embankment heading in towards the circuit proper. So just a few shouts there, just good to see. I think we have Carl Critchlow in and riding in the group. I think he's up near the front. Carl Cost, one of the regular riders on a motorbike. Good to see him out and riding on the course in Zwift as part of the Donny chain gang. So our riders on the way through, that right hand side showing the time gaps from each of the riders to each other. At the moment nothing to choose between each other, and at the moment the pace is definitely not all that easy. Directly above that you can just see the map changing. We have 3 map views. We can zoom in from the top. This is almost very similar to the helicopter shot but a bit further out. Satellite view basically. This is a effective low Earth orbit satellite. If we jump up from there, you can see we zoom out a little bit. This gives us a little bit more detail of the course when we're coming in and through. And then we can go to our 3D option, which you can just see as zooms around as the course direction changes. You can just see the main course in grey bounded by a black edging. On the side you can see the percentage elevation at the moment going downhill, -2% gradient. That's on the very top right hand side of your screen. As you move across the screen, we've been rolling for 4 minutes 22, going from right to left. We've done 18 millimetres of elevation, covered 3.1 kilometres, and are currently travelling at the not insubstantial speed of 46 kilometres an hour. The numbers on the top left hand side, well, this is really important because this is the watts that are being produced, and at the moment Lucy producing over 200 watts, going up to nearly 300 watts. There we go, 360 watts as she pushes to get into the back of that group. 72 revs per minute, so a cadence of 72, and 148 beats per minute. Directly below you can see our leaderboard for Keith Hill, and this is a scrollable leaderboard. It will give us our sprints, it will give us the London Loop, it will give us the Keith Hill and the King of the Mountains. Now today we're not going up Box Hill, which is the King of the Mountains. We're not going to be going around the London Loop itself, but we will be using the sprint and the Keith Hill, and that's at the very end. Now our riders are working their way up onto the climb, and this is where the groups have a habit of splitting. Lots of riders out and riding. We can only focus on 100 riders. I think there's about 106 riders in the immediate area, and I think Mortensen in this group as well. So we're going to take a little bit of a scroll through some of these riders. If you keep an eye on your screens, you'll see as we change rider, you'll see who we're going across to. You'll see the various different riders, what's their power. You'll be able to see what revs they're doing. Maybe able to go see one of our riders who we know is always very, very quick. This is going to be Becca Kingdom, so we dropped across to Becca at the moment, and if we take a little bit of a zoom up on Becca, Becca has the Tron bike, as it's known. It's a Zwift concept bike, and Becca here just rolling in very nicely. Revs, 91 revs per minute, 177 beats per minute. That's reasonably high, but Becca in not reached the 30s yet, like you saw, and at the moment is rolling along with that B top, and you see a number of our riders will have that on as well. If we drop across from Becca, who's on her way now riding through here, currently rolling in at 130, 150 watts. She's sat nicely in that group. We'll take a jump across next to Jess Evans. Jess, National Hill Climb champion, is going to be looking forward to seeing the climb Now Jess is riding in the grey Assos kit, an Assos ambassador, and if we take a little bit of a shoot around there, you can just see she's centred there, just riding very close to Kingdom as well. And at the moment, Jess Evans just bobbing around by Russ in the middle of that pack. If we take a little bit of a look back from Jess, at the moment I don't think too many people in sight behind. It looks like that group is sticking together reasonably well. We're just going to pan right the way around here as we come and take the left hand turn here. This is going to bring us round in towards the square, so we've gone around the edge here, and we're just making our way along the side of Greater London in the opposite direction to normal. Now take a little bit of a look down, and we're going to have a hunt through our riders. We do try and show as many of our riders as we can, because it is all about getting the ride in. Good to see another rider. Looks like Hannah Howitt is here from the Isle of Man as well. Martin Mortensen is back once again. So let's have a little look for Martin. We'll take a little look from Martin's viewpoint. First of all, we're going to jump up over to the top. Danish Bike Riders group rider, and certainly looks to me like he is riding well, just alongside Jess Evans there. And if you take a little bit of a look at Martin sitting on that Tron bike at the moment, just weaving his way in and out. We can't go too high on this camera at the moment as we go underneath the underpass, the opposite direction. This is very, very tough indeed, and I suspect behind our Danish rider Mortensen here, we're going to take a little bit of a look back and see the gaps start to open as you hit this climb. Now, the drag on the bikes, mostly aerodynamic drag at the moment, but as you go into the climb with a 2% climb, you're going to see the gaps start to open. They then will get reinforced, hammered open as the guys go up the top. We're going to take a look now at Tilsley from Sitwell. Mr. Tilsley just riding in there, and I think we're going to find that Neil is pedaling a nice smooth cadence yet, 91 revs per minute. You see those legs are ticking around nicely in that group of riders as they make their way down here. So the riders heading through. Russ just pulling the leg there, I think, of Martin Mortensen. As they head around this course, this group, just a one long line at the moment. The riders hopefully settling in nicely to the riders. They warm their legs up. Russ trying to keep it all together initially. Now let's see which of our riders are in here in this group. It looks like most of the riders in this group are together. And drop to the back now. One rider who said he might have a hard time tonight is Mr. Oxenham. Simon was stating that he wasn't going to be able to wheel surf as normal. I'm not sure I actually believe that, because he is one of the very, very competent riders. You can just see here, tucked in, rolling his way around in that black jersey there, that black Zwift jersey. And if we just jump out, Tron bike means he's gone and climbed 50,000 meters in Zwift, recorded all of those, got himself the Tron bike. You can see different colours available to match riders kit. Now looks like the pace is going on. We're going to try and jump across to Carl Crutchlow here. So Carl is riding just at the back of the group, and he's going to need to just pick this pace up a little bit if he needs to get in. Crutchlow managed used to be up on the front of the bike, just to being distanced here. Let's see if Russ is going to pull all this group back to get our superstar rider in there. I'm just keeping an eye on Russ at the moment. He's certainly working hard. I get him in one of my cameras, multiple cameras available to me at the moment, and certainly the images of Russ are not one where he's taking it easy, that's for sure. Nice retro headband as well, mate, very 1970s. But it looks to me like that gap is only 6-7 seconds to Crutchlow, and a few riders now just struggling with the pace here. Just going to cross to Marshall. So guys, we need to just knock the pace off. If you're listening in, watching this live, it's one of the things that we've adapted. We've changed it over so that we can actually set it up so that you can get this live as you are riding. And as you can see, the gaps, guys, are opening up. We need to just back the pace off and pull that back. Otherwise, we are going to be losing riders left, right, and centre. So, just watching Marshall in this group. We're going to work our way up through them. Let's go find Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen sitting on the back here, just holding the pace down. You can see another one of our retro riders here. Loving the jersey today. That looks very much like a Levi Claire jersey. Very retro jersey there on the back of Mr. Allen. But of course it's a ride-on version of that retro jersey. And he's got the shorts to match. He certainly has. So great shorts and kit, not his usual kit. I think he's just doing that to make my life a little bit more difficult when I'm IDing all the riders on the way through. Now, our riders steadily working their way around this course. They've just come down to the side of the embankment, and if we look across from them over to the right hand side, very shortly you're going to see the river coming in to sight as they go dive underneath the bridge at the moment. Now take a little bit of a look up to the front of the group, spread over about 5 seconds at the moment from front to back. We're going to see who's rolling it around at the front. I think Rob Kennison, one of our regular riders, just trying to hold it in check. Martin Dainty is riding. Well, the Southcon Fest Luddite himself is here. If he ever manages to make it onto YouTube, we'll see if Mr. Dainty has made it. He's rocking, I suspect he's fixed at the moment, so he's dropping it down, pushing out 350 watts at the moment. Martin, have you been on the pizzas or something, mate? Flipping heck. It looks to me like Martin really pushing out some watts to push himself up to the front of the group. So Martin just rolling it around, gets to the front, sits at 160, he's going to let it back, right back off again as these riders start to come through. Now one man who we are definitely going to take a look at a little bit later, and he's going to be my man to watch when it comes to the climbs, is Mason Hollyman. Now Mason is one of our riders who we know can work well on the climbs, and we know that because he has just set the UK record for Everesting. That is covering 8,000 metres of ascent in one day. The record is nowhere near one day, in fact. Mason achieving his ascent of Everest in terms of metres, and that was done, youngster saying it with 37, if I'm correct, or 39 ascents of the Home Moss climb that's been used on things like the Wincanton and the Kellogg's Tour repeatedly, as well as the Tour of Britain. And remember, of course, that climb is a very, very tough climb. He did it from the side from Whernside, and that from Whernside, from wrong side, from the side of Woodhead. My apologies. So good from Woodhead, totally wrong set of hills, just as painful. And Mason putting a brand new record. So congratulations, Mason. We'll be catching up with Mason, I think, as we go up in towards the big climbs. Good to see Eddie Dench is back in the group as well. Mark Thwaites hanging on in there. We're going to see if that is still the case. And we come to the climb. Mark is one of the few riders that probably tops my mass when it comes to going up hills these days. I'm not sure he's always claimed 100 kilos, but he's got a fair amount of weight to drag up those climbs. We'll see if he's going to be hauling it over the top, Eros Poli style, or will he be flying up there a little bit lighter as he goes in and through. Now, taking a little bit of a look into this group, we've got looks like Lily Swan is in this group. Let's see if we can catch a hold of Lily, who's going to be down in the middle of the group. She's in a traditional green jersey there. Usually takes the green sprint jersey on her way through. So Lily's there in that green jersey and roll along very, very smoothly indeed. Nice purple tyres and nice sidewalls on there, Lily. Looking good and keeping those revs nice and smooth. 95 reps a minute, 150 beats per minute. Ticking along at 188 watts. Very, very comfortable indeed. So it looks to me like Lily's going to be one to watch as we come in and through. Now, these riders up at the front of the group are going to be coming in towards the turn. We're going to go up the turn here, round this left-hand corner, as Russ is just a little bit further back. And you can just see that group just making its way away from the Houses of Parliament here, going alongside Parliament Square. They're going to go along on to the side of St James's Park. That's going to appear out on the right hand side of the riders, as these riders make their way up and along. So they go past Big Ben, head along past St James's Park on the right. If you've never been, it's an absolutely wonderful place to go and watch the sites, go see the sites. We're going to come up to the Household Cavalry's barracks on the left hand side as well. We've gone past the Royal Training Ground. There's actually a menage out to the side as well. These riders able to ride now past the parade ground, somewhere I'm sure Mark Thwaites is very familiar with. On the left hand side, that's the parade ground on the left now. It's got a bit bigger fence in real life, I have to say. And now we're going to start heading around as this big bunch on the Donny chain gang here, brought to you courtesy of OT Pinarello Wahoo, and of course live on Zwift at the moment. Made the way past Buckingham Palace, and we're just taking a little bit of a look so you can see as we go past Buckingham Palace, this big bunch going around the wedding cake as it's known, the statue at the end of the mall, and now head onto the climb of Constitution Hill. Currently 0%, that's really rapidly going to change as we start to run alongside the perimeter wall of Buckingham Palace and the palace grounds any minute. You're going to see that wall come in and the gradient start to kick up 1% at the moment, 2%. Now we're going to be going the opposite way very shortly. We're going to be running down into that sprint, and now is the time to try and pick which of our riders is going to be in there. I know Katie Scott in the women's has been going very, very well in the sprints. I wouldn't discount people like Morton's than Matt Manakee, always somebody to watch in the men's. We're going to go for the sprint on the green dot. Not sure who we're going to see come in for that now. Is it going to be Cameron Fraser? Cam riding up for the Nun team is always one of our riders right up at the front of affairs. Let's see if we can see him there. He's in that Sigma Sport jersey. Just going to zoom down in. So there we are. That is Fraser at the moment as we centre down on him. Is he going to try and contest this sprint? We're now on the run down. Now remember, this is going to be at about a -1% gradient. Lily Swan is lined up here, but the way to get a really, really fast time on the way through is to come through at speed from the back through the bunch. The maximum aerodynamic advantage is to be able to use that group all the way through. One or two riders have gone hard really, really early here, and they're going to pay for that because they're not getting any aerodynamic help at all. This is where you're going to see the power-ups come in now. They appear in the riders' screens, that they will appear over the rider when they hit the boost button. Now it might be an aero boost, it might be an aerodynamic drag advantage, it might be a feather to reduce the gradient. But as you can see, as we make our way in towards the arch of the sprint is starting to unwind here. Looks like Stevenson going early there, 14 watts per kilo. It looks like 11 going out. Top Cat kicking out 15 here. I'm not sure where he's managed to find 15. Looks like Russ has engaged the boost draft here. You can see these riders are flying down the sprint. The question is, who is going to take that sprint time? It looks like Top Cat, who was kicking out those 15 watts per kilo, has got an 11.43 on the way through here. Fraser rolling in with a 15.35, but Top Cat taking that on the way through with an 11.45. It's an 11.77, and that I think is going to be Stevenson out of the saddle. I think Russ, our ride leader, has come through in third place there, and this is where Russ is going to need this group to regroup as they come in and through. We're going to take a little bit of a look, see who's got that green jersey. Let's see who is going to be able to take that in the women's, certainly in the men's. A very fast time there. We're going to drop across to Russ just as he's giving out the instruction to just ease up. You can just see that group all strung out at the moment. So it is Top Cat who holds the jersey at the moment in the men's. The lead time at 11.45. Going to drop back and see who has got the women's. Is it going to be Lucy Hall? I think it is Hall who's taking the women's jersey there. I'm just going to confirm that. So let's drop across to Lucy. And I think Lucy is going to be in with the green. She is there. So Lucy takes the green jersey, and that green jersey time a 13.18 in front of Lily Swan, a 13.57. They are very, very quick times indeed, and that is aided, of course, by the fact they're kicking in and through. So I think it is going to be Lucy Hall from Lily Swan is second place in the women's. Then Millie Skinner in what I think is third, followed. I suspect there it is going to be. Looks to be like Scott in the fourth place there. Matt Winston not in with a shout that time of the sprint. As we keep our eyes on Lucy, our women's green jersey holder. She's the leading woman in the blue and black and white jersey with the blocks rather than the camo, and some very, very quick times coming from our riders on the way through. So very, very fast from our group as they come in and through. The pace just being backed off at the very front. Now you can see behind there are a number of riders who have been distanced. So the guys at the front are moving up. Top Cat leading the men's. The women's are being led by Lucy Hall, 2 green jerseys. And we're just going to just go across. I think Russ has been working rather hard here at the moment, so we're just going to see Russ on his recovery now. So Russ is out on recovery. I don't think we'll talk to him. We're going to let him do some texting and typing and keep this group together. He's got a multitask on his way through here as he makes his way round the course. He's got 2 keyboards, the headphones going. He's got to ride and keep in this group as well and not get distance, Russ, as you're focusing on this. As well as this, of course, don't forget we've got a group heading out behind these riders. It looks like Kushak in with the main leading group. I'm just going to try and drop back to some of our chasers, but they are quite a way back on the course. It looks like Karl Kaplinski sitting about 4 or 5 seconds down on our leaders, and that is just inside the group. I think Martin Bolt is going to be our last rider on course. He is our traditional sweeper on his way through. He's got company. Looks like he's got Johnson with him as well. So we're going to just keep our eye on Russ, and we're going to just drop back into the main ride. So dropping back in on that main ride, it looks to me like Martin Bott has company. It's going to be Carl Johnson who is in with him there. So the 2 are there. So they make their way up. Now in front of them, I think we've got Lamb sitting 36 seconds in front. He's just about to go underneath the gantry here. So it is Lamb just making his way up the straight. In front of him, we've got Mr. Crehan. The Crehan are just rolling in. So it looks like Crehan and Lamb are going to form a group. Behind then it's Bolt and Johnson working together. We're just going to take a look up. I think Andy Farrell has got himself a group of 2. That is going to be with Killingsworth here. So let's take a little look at them. So they make their way in and pass. So just watching Andy make his way along with Killingsworth. They've got riders at about 8 seconds in front, guys. So Mr. Killingsworth and Verrill, you need to be chasing Rodney and Akers, who are up the road. Let's have a little bit of a look, see where they are. So I think Russ just picking drops because he was too busy pulling faces for the TV screens, and that's not what we need you to do. So we have Rodney on the way through with Akers, and I think just watching Rodney, I think it's going to be Ali who's up with Rodney. Here it is. So this is Ali Akers. This is one of the fast riders in the Akers family. Ollie and Ali very, very quick. Andy's fairly handy every now and then, it has to be said. And Andy just a little bit further up the road. A bigger group up the road here. And this contains, I think this is Isla Wolf. We're just going to take a little bit of a look at Isla. It is indeed Isla Wolf in this group. We have Andy Akers himself in the group as well. So just keep an eye on Andy. We're going to just zoom up over Andy. Andy in the black there. Andy, of course, one of our key BSC officers and coaches in the Yorkshire region. So the guys up on there now. They've got Wayne Elvin in the group by the look of it. Wayne riding, what kit's Wayne in today? Wayne is going to be riding in a very nice camo group on the Tron bike there. He's on his way through. He's got young Turnbull there as well. So Turnbull riding in this group. Let's see if we can take a little bit of a look back at Turnbull. And just keep an eye here. So Turbo on his way up in the back of that group. It looks like Oral is in this group as well. So where's Oral? Oral in the green as well. Also looks like they've got Kingdom in here. So Kingdom riding in with this group in the B kit on that Tron bike. Nice group here of riders. And that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders all working together. Now in front, it looks to me like we've got Witchard and Hussein are together. So Witchard in the light blue here, Hussein in the darker blue kit. These two riders looking pretty smooth, and that's clearly working together as we go along the embankment. Up in front of them, I think Tom Scott currently in no man's land. And Mr. Scott, I would be waiting a little bit. You've either got help coming from behind, 20 seconds from behind, and there's two riders closing in. 30 seconds up the road, you've got Chris, the mountain biker, who is spends far too much time on the bike taking pictures on Instagram. Give him a follow on that. We've got some absolutely amazing images on there, and Mr. Knight as well. And these two riders are steadily working the way along the screen. They are 20 seconds down on our next group up the road, and this is a big man from Zodiac, who we're following at the moment, who's getting a big thumbs up. We've got our man from Geared Up, and that is going to be Dobson. Dobson's got O'Brien for company as well. So just taking a look at O'Brien, who's just sitting in there in that orange kit. And don't forget, of course, Mr. Lightfoot is in this as well. And Mr. Smith from the out of the saddle with his traditional top quality hairdo there. A bit of a Mohican going on for John from the Out of the Saddle Club. Now, these groups are all down on the main group, which is starting to split into two big bunches. This is our next group up the road. Now, we've got Mr. Morton in this group, and you can see Morton just trying to close in on the back wheel here of Andy Hawes. Andy taking a rest from Hawes' talks and just trying to get onto the back of this group. Come on, Andy, you need to close that gap, mate. You know the score but as well as anybody. If you let the gap go more than 6 metres, you're going to lose the group. Well responded, Andy. Now Mr. Morton needs to do the same. Looks like Howis is in this group as well. Boo's in here. It looks like Young is in this group. Fulton is in here. Wheater is in here as well for the Bolsover District Club here. So Wheater is in this group. Just scroll around that Peaks jersey. The Bolsover Club, of course, based just on the edge of the Peak District. But this is a very handy group of riders here. And they are going to be able to motor together. Some very experienced riders in this group as well, as they work their way through the zigzags. They're the second group on the road here, and currently numbering 11 riders in that group, with Tomlinson in there as well, Goddard's in there, Hawes, Hamilton's in there, looks like Gibbons is in there, Wade Roberts in this group. They are 35 seconds down on the back of the bunch, and I think if we shoot up above Luke Taylor, the last man in the group, we're not going to be able to see them now. It looks like Shelley's just been dropped here, and it looks like a drop power in terms of power here for Shelley at the moment. So we're going to leave, and looks like the guys are here. Luke Taylor's in this group, Hale's in this group, Russ Downing is in this group. The question is this the very front group on the road? Taking a look on our screens, can we see anybody up the road in front? I think it is going to be this group that is the front group, trying to scroll up to the very front, and I think it is going to be Atkinson who is leading the group at the moment. So let's see if we can get across to Mr. Atkinson here. He is right on the front of the group here, and behind him all of those riders are queuing up. It's going to reform a little bit in this bigger group here, but they have dropped the group containing Andy Hawes. He's gone back, and now we're going to see just who's got the pace. The riders at the moment working their way around. If you remember the original map screen that we had up for you, the riders have already completed their anti-clockwise loop. So they've done the lead in, they've done the anti-clockwise, currently at 23, and we're now on the clockwise loop back out and around, and we're now coming into the notorious underpass. I say notorious because this is where the group split. You can just see it in the distance, and it's going to start going down fast here. -2, -3% on the run in. It goes to -4 on the way. We're going to drop our drone down a little bit and go alongside our group here, because otherwise we'll be looking through the walls. So we're going to take a little bit of a look. Atkinson's still leading this group out on the front, but you can see it is strung out behind at the moment, and all these guys are finding that the pace has gone down, the gaps have opened up, and it looks like 4 or 5 riders now detached on the back of the bunch as Luke Stone goes through. One of the riders coached by Donny second Bowering, another of those coach riders goes through. Looks like Copeland is up at the front, and you can see the power-ups coming here. Plenty of feathers being used early. I think I'd have been saving that for Keith Hill. They might be hoping they're going to get some more, but at the moment they're using it to stay in this group. Atkinson nicely nestled in there, but if we take a little bit of a look back, yep, there's 4 or 5 riders now being detached from this bunch. Looks like Chris Hilbert's still in here for Pine Cycles, Kujak in for Brixton. It looks like Martin Dainty's managed to spin his legs fast enough to stay in here. I can't wait to see Dainty go over the top of the hill. Dainty by name, he's not so dainty by nature. He's big, long, tall rider, and I don't think he's going to find that hill the easiest of things to go up, especially when we see riders like Hollyman, who's expected to kick hard when we get to Keith Hill. At the moment, Russ just making his way around. We're going to try and get back across to Russ very shortly. I think Russ just teeing himself up for an interview. I've just got the earphones in, which is a sign he's going to be back in with us. Let's see if we can get across to Russ. So here we go. Let's take Russ. Let's see if we can get hold of Russ one way or another. Russ, can you hear us?
I can hear you, mate.
Excellent. We've seen you're working quite hard there to try and stay in this group. It looks pretty tough out there. It's gone fast from the gun.
Yeah, it's pretty hard trying to ride the troop, but yeah, I'm going to try and finish this call, drop the phone, and see if I can join the party.
It looks pretty spicy up at the front. Are you finding that the climbers are holding back a little bit, and it's the maybe the people who don't think they're going to be in with a chance when it comes to the hill that are really trying to wind it up?
I think it's going to absolutely explode any minute. Maybe before we get to the climb, you know, get into the subway.
Yeah.
Some squeezing on there, so I don't know what's longer on this phone call, and maybe not much longer on going for the peloton, really.
Yeah, I think we can see that you're going to be chewing the headphones, and the sweat's going to be pouring out on the way through. You've got to be pleased, though, with how the chain gang's going. Lots and lots of riders week in, week out.
Yeah, it's good, you know, so every week you just get someone drop in who are unexpected, you know, so it's all good. You've got on the zone on here tonight, and you know, Crusoe with him, so
yeah.
He's 68 actually at the start, so.
Yeah, and Cal's in that group now. Cal's in the group as well at the minute, so he's more than holding his own, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he'd expect his pennies in at 1 minute. He was like 7 seconds down, but he maybe got out of position on the sprint. He's come back and
yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
No one looks after me when I go backwards.
No, we're all just waiting to drop you. You know that's how it works on the ride. So you're down on the embankment, you're on the run back past the start and heading in towards the tube that takes you out towards the big climb. Good luck, Russ. We're going to get away and we'll let you do a little bit of recovery as we leave you to it. So well done, mate. Good stuff.
10K to go. I'll take that. I might pull up in.
Excellent. Well done, mate. We'll speak to you soon. So Russ now leaving us, and we're going to let Russ concentrate on the ride itself. Some fantastic catch-ups with Russ through the week as we were planning this. Hopefully you're all enjoying the footage. I want to say a massive thank you once again to the guys at Zwift. They don't just provide us with what is one of the most exciting online gaming platforms. lots of places now study it and use it actually as one of the big examples that they use of online gaming platforms, because it is so good. Personalization of the graphics allows you to pick out the riders. As a commentator, it's invaluable because, as you can see, I'm going to be able to pull the riders out. I know Russ coming through in the grey at the moment. He's right up on there. It looks like Cal Crutchlow's coming through. He's in the dark blue on the far side. Chris Hilbert's in here. Fraser in here in the Nun squad. It looks like Lily Swan in this group as well. Kujak's in this group. It looks like Katie Scott is here. No, I'm not sure I want to bet against Katie on that hill as we go up on to the climb, and it's certainly looking like this group mean business now. This is the sharp end, and this is all that is left, and well over 100 and some riders out on the course. It's looking pretty mad now. Simon Warren is in this group, and Simon is definitely one of the riders who we want to watch out for when it comes to climbing. He's literally written the book of climbing, and he is one of the guys who we know can go well uphill pretty much whatever the profile. He does have his favourites, and I don't think Zwift has always been his favourite. I remember his first ride on Zwift just before we did the test of the Alpe d'Huez, coming in for Zwift. That seems a long time ago, and Simon then getting shouted at by me to ride faster, and finding it pretty tough. He didn't get his fastest time up there, but it did sound very, very realistic. He's got to be one of the riders to watch out for. Looks like Top Cap in this group as well. Interesting to see Top Cap is in here with us, because he was the guy who took that sprint, and at the moment Top Cap is nicely positioned there alongside Russ. That is some serious facial hair as well, as he kicks out of the saddle now. Can he climb as well as he sprints? He's just going past Lucy Hall on the far side, who's keeping track with him as well here. So the two riders that took the green jerseys tracking the way up through the bunch. You just see Hall on the far side of the bunch making a way up here. Top Cat going up to the front. Hall also doing the same. So our two green jerseys leading the ride at the moment, and it's Hall on this dip who's going to go to the front at the moment. Now, other riders to keep an eye out for. Rob Copeland is always a man to watch. He's light, he's fast, he's zippy, he's got plenty of tactical awareness. We know he's quick when it comes to the sprint. Let's zoom down in on Rob here. Now, Rob is in the grey Zwift jersey, just buried in the bunch. Rob, not quite as good looking in real life as his avatar. He's looking very suave there. And you might have caught up with Rob talking about how people recover from the coronavirus. The Sheffield Hallam's Sports and Wellness Centre director on Good Morning Britain. And I'm sure he was looking a little bit more tanned. Was that the makeup, mate, when you were on TV doing the business? Now we're going to drop across from him. We're going to see if we can catch up with a few more of our well-known riders. We're going to go across to Mr. Buckingham here. He's right up at the front of the group. And Mark Buckingham, another of the regular riders on Zwift. You can just see at the moment, just dropping back a little bit in the Scott kit on the Scott bike there, looking very, very smooth. The question is, has he got the awareness to stay on? I think he has. He's a pretty experienced rider, nicely kicking out 8 watts per kilo, and Mr. Buckingham clearly listening in, because he is now working his way into the bunch. If you've not been here before, what we've got coming up, we've got the underpass. So we're going to go over Tower Bridge in London. If you've never been here in real life, you need to go visit the moment that you can. It's an absolutely spectacular sight, particularly if you catch it when the bridge lifts and drops. Not too far from HMS Belfast, who is moored up just on the other side there. Some great pubs to go visit, some great sights. Not too far from the start of the Fire of London as well. And you've got some real good monuments and museums as well to look at. But one of the experiences everybody who tries to do when they're in London is get on the tube. Maybe not necessarily right now, and that's where we're heading. We're about to drop out of the boundary and drop down in. So our riders now take the left, and then it's going to be a right-hand turn here. As they go around, they're going to take the right turn, which will take them down into the underpass, down onto the tube station. This is one of the steepest bits of the whole course. Here's the elevators and the steps, which are boarded over today. And at the moment, it certainly looks like the guys are coming through very, very smoothly through the underpass at the minute. You can just hear them on the boards now. And it looks to me like Hall just had to put a big kick to get back on to that group. At the moment, you can see it's absolutely frantic in there. Some big numbers starting to come out. Riders who are at the back do not want to get pinned there. They do not want to be the last rider in this group. They're in the underpass. They're about to make their way out from the tunnel. Here we go. Now your riders are now in here. Looks like Dainty's still in here. Mark Thwaites is in here. Cam Fraze is in here. Hilbert is in here. The youngster riding for the Sherwood Pie cycling team is in this group, and he's one of those riders we really do know can kick down hard. Oxenham is in here as well. He's held on. We're taking the turns now on to Keith Hill. Remember, 36.1 is the distance. We've got a very short distance. The ride will finish at the very top of Keith Hill. That's where our winner's going to come from. Who is going to be taking this when they get up there? Remember, once our riders make it to the top, we will go back and focus on some of the groups coming in as soon as we can. But the big kick is now going to come, and this is as we go up on to the climb. So we're going to try and stay with the riders, and it looks to me like we've already got a kick off the front here, and I think this is going to be Hollyman who's gone for it here. No, we're with Hollyman. It's not the Hollyman who's right up the very front of the road. It's Tom Mazzoni who's gone for it. The Vitus rider up at the front. We're going to dive across, see what numbers he's kicking. 447 watts. And he's being closed down there at the moment. And it's Mortensen who's closed him down. The big Dane has closed down that gap. And at the moment, Mazzona's opened up a little bit of a gap behind. He puts another dig in. He's at 9.7 watts per kilo. Mortensen at 8.7. They've got to know they're not going to hold that power. And Mortensen now goes for a big kick, comes around the side, and he's got to be responded to here by Mazzoni. We're on to the climb, probably he's just gone over the dots here. And that is the start of the timed climb. So our riders on the climb. We're taking a look back at the bunch behind as we see Mortensen and Mazzoni. And Mortensen at the moment just starting to be distanced here a little bit by... He's going up. Look at this. Mortis is breaking a gap open. I think Mazzone went a bit too hard too soon here. Has he gone pop? Because the big Dane now has opened up the throttle. This is a 5.8 watts per kilo. 450 watts now coming from Mortensen. And you can see he's looking very, very smooth. Can there be any kind of response here? And it looks like Mazzoni's got early. He split the group, but it has cost him dear because Mason Hollyman is the rider who is leading the charge behind. He has got Lawrence Coyle behind him, just coming around the side, in fact, here. So it looks like Coyle, a previous winner of the Donny chain gang on this 9% slope. These riders are climbing up the hill behind Mortensen. You can see the gap has opened, and those riders are a dot in the distance. The group is absolutely fracturing apart. Let's take a little bit of a look back in, and we're going to just go back. I think the leading rider in the group is Top Cat at the moment. And if we take a look back behind Top Cat, they are indeed following in ones and twos here. It is a long, strung out ride. Now it's Buckingham who goes round. So at the moment, Mortensen, who is leading, he's got a 4-second gap on Hollyman, who is who's got a 15-second gap. It's Mortensen who's kicking on here. Hollyman at the moment is sitting 17 seconds down on him. He's got company at the moment. Coyle is with him. He's got Gelsthorpe with him as well. But it's a gap back to a Top Cat here who is leading up the group behind the green jersey holder. He's distancing him. It looks like Russ is a bit further down here. It looks like Katie Scott is going to be our leading woman on the climb here though, and at the moment it is Katie Scott who is coming through. The Cam Tifosi rider has got Russ Downing coming around. Is Downing going to give her a wheel up here? A Downing cycling coach rider Katie Scott sitting at 5.7 watts per kilo. She's been joined by Kujak here and by Hall as well. So Lucy Hall is in here. Kujak is in this group. Katie Scott, this is our women's leaders are all together as they come up onto the climb. We're going to shoot a little bit back further up the climb once again because we're going to go back across to Mortensen, who is leading this race out. The women's group together. It looks like Mortensen is here on his own as we scroll around. Mortensen on that Tron bike. You can just see behind. The rider behind is Hollyman. So Mason Hollyman pushing up 8 watts per kilo, but he's a tiny rider. He's a Mason. And Mason Hollyman, the zappy rider, just closing that gap down. He's down to 3 seconds. Did Mortensen kick too soon? And if you look up at the screen above, you can just see our riders are starting to close back in on Mortensen. It's a long string of riders on the climb, but Mortensen is the rider who's been on the front for a little while. Mason Holliman is closing that gap down behind. Then is Buckingham and Gelsop. It's Coyle who are coming. They've got Dolby and Dainty on the wheels. You've got Little in there as well. James Little working his way in as Holliman comes around, and Mortensen can just watch him go at the moment. Can he respond to this? Mortensen lists a pace 5.1, 5.3, 5.2 watts per kilo. Remember, this is going to be a big watts. If we go across to Mason, it's going to be 430 watts, 192 beats per minute. Nobody's going to say he's not trying with a heart rate up there. And at the moment, he's looking very, very smooth indeed. 106 revs per minute from Mason. And you can see the gap has gone. That's more than 6 meters. And that means Mortensen is not getting a toe now. And the Downing Coast rider ready for the Zappies team. Mason Holliman is now our leader up there. They're heading up to the top of Keith Hill. If you look at the top right of your screen, you will see the pink dot. That is the top of Keith Hill. You can see the yellow beacon. You can see the rider we are following. That is the little orange arrow on there. Those are the riders that are leading this up, led by Mason. They're still only halfway up this climb. We've had leader after leader, but now Mason Holliman kicking out 7.7 watts per kilo really is opening the gap back to Mortensen. Now let's see what Mortensen's looking like at the moment back there. Mortensen was leading. He had a decent gap back from everybody else, but Mortensen at the moment, although he's pedaling smoothly, he's only on 80 revs per minute. Compare that to Mason Holliman. We're going to go straight across to Holliman side by side. Here we go. Holliman's up here, and Holliman's currently on 413 watts, pedaling at nearly 100 revs per minute. Mortensen 79 revs per minute here as the Dane goes up. What is Buckingham doing at the moment? Let's see where he's at. So Buckingham out of the saddle, 60 revs per minute and 300 watts. The heart rate's nowhere near as high as 176. But can Buckingham do anything about it? Behind him then, it looks to be like it is Martin Daty. He's kicking out 400 watts here. He's Daty and he's closing on Buckingham. Martin, we know you're an absolute nutcase, but if you're doing that on your fixed wheel machine, there's no wonder you're a Luddite. You're absolutely flying up here no matter what. Behind him then, it looks like Dolby is the rider behind who's going pretty smoothly here. Dolby has good, so it is Buckingham. Then Dainty. Then it's going to be Dolby. A Gelsop coming up. Little is coming up behind as well. So here we go. Through they go. That is Dolby. He has got a gap back to Little, who's a few seconds down. Just jumping across to Russ. Russ ticking along here. 300 watts. Only 76 watts coming out. And we're just looking down here for our women's leader on the way through here. Now, I think it is going to be Katie Scott, who has the women's lead at the moment. Katie is here. Behind is Kujak and Hall. And I think Lucy Hall has been distant. So Katie Scott, our women's leader. The Counts Tifosi rider at the front of the women's competition here. Now behind it is going to be Kujak, who's going to be chasing. And we're just going to try and take a little bit of a look up the road. Here looks like Katie has got company, and it is Lucy Hall who's there. They've got Rob Cutler for company, but the green jersey you can just see going off into the distance in front. And then it's leaving Kujak, leaving Hall behind. That is the green jersey that is being worn by Katie Scott. Now, are they closing down on Katie Scott? 5 seconds is the gap to Katie Scott. It's not all that much. Meanwhile, our riders at the front of the men's race are well on the way up as well. Mason Holliman really opening up a gap on everybody else. And we're going to go straight because it looks like Kujak now jumping off the bike there. So we're going to jump across to Mason Holliman. I hope everything's well with Kujak as Mason starts to make his way up. It levels out a little bit as the top. If you remember that profile from Velo Viewer, the fantastic profile put together, it showed it leveled off towards the top, and it's that horrible profile of the top of the climb being a kick along the flat. And this is where Mason Holliman's lightweight frame is not to his advantage, but he's got time to burn. He can stop for an ice cream on his way in at the minute. because Hollyman has smashed it to pieces here. He's going to be able to see that gantry very, very shortly indeed. You can see on the 3D screen top right hand side that Mason Hollyman is the man who is doing the business. He's getting it done on the Donny chain gang here, and he's put a minute into Martin Mortensen. So the rider who is going to come through and take a victory on the Donny chain gang, going over the top, the UK everything holder, record holder, it is Mason Hollyman of Zappies, coached by Downing Cycling. He goes through at the very front of the ride. Now we're going to jump back to Martin Mortensen. He's the rider second on the road, and is currently making his way up towards the line. He's looking pretty smooth. He's going to come across to second place, and are we going to see Longman himself? Are we going to see Martin Dainty be the rider who's going to take second place here? I think we are. So as we watch Mortensen on his way in here towards that finish line, he's going to come through that gantry in second place. It's going to be Dainty, 34 seconds down at the moment, who's going to take that third place. So here comes Mortensen in towards the line, and it is Martin Mortensen who comes through. He takes second place to Mason Hollyman. A minute down on Hollyman now. Behind him, 33 seconds down, it is Martin Dainty. And Dainty making his way up towards the line. Damn, I want to get this man on a power meter. We want to see what he's kicking out. Currently sitting at 400 watts. He's kicking out at the moment on his way in. He's a big rider, so it is Dainty who comes through underneath the gantry in third place. Behind, the sprint is on, and it looks like our next rider is going to come rolling through. It's going to be Gelsop who comes through in fourth place. Then it's going to be Little, I think, who's going to be in fifth. He's a lot further down the course at the moment. So just watching a Little come along. He comes in and through. We're just working our way back, and we're going to have to jump in and back into our ride here to try and find our riders behind. Let's see what Russ is up to. He's our rider we're looking for at the moment, because we know Russ wasn't too far off the pace. So let's see how Russ is doing on the climb. Let's see where Russ is. He's on his way in. That's what you call timing. He's going to be chased in towards the line by the winners leader. So our ride leader coming in towards the line. We're going to jump across her, because this is going to be Katie Scott, who is on her way in to take victory in the women's ride. Here she goes, kicking in, and underneath the gantry goes the Camster Tifosi rider. Behind it's going to be Hall going over the line. Then it's going to be Copeland. It looks like Kujak's going to be taking our second place in the women's ride here. So Kujak it is working to take that second place, going over the line with Rob Copeland. So Kujak takes a second place as we work our way down. Just going to have a little look down. Where is Andy Singleton? He wasn't too far away. Now these riders are now going up over the top of the climb, rider after rider working the way in and through. Just taking a look up here, and this is going to be Radcliffe who's going to come up to the line. He just rolls a steady line on his way in and through as he goes over the top of Tom Mazzoni. So the early leader just coming through the finish. We're dropping back down. It looks like all these riders well on the way over the top now. We're going to have a little bit of a look, maybe a little further back in the group, and we're going to see if we can catch up with some more of our riders who are out on the course. We're going to have a look for Mr. Bolt, a rider who is regularly our jersey at the back. Martin is one of our regular riders out on the course. Stunnyland descends off the far side. We're going to see if we can find Martin Bolt, our red jersey, the beacon at the back. He's our man who we're going to now come chasing up the climb. Martin currently on to the climb at the bottom of the climb. It looks like there's plenty of riders up in front, and we're going to work our way, I think, from front to back. We're going to go up to Rob Kennison next. He's our next rider. We're watching. Rob's over the top here. It looks like Fox is over the top, Mr. Winston over the top, Kirkpatrick coming through as well. Cal Crutchlow has made it up and over the top. Well done, mate. And Mr. Bowring coming through. Lots of our riders doing the business here at the moment up over the top of the climb. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a look back. I think Millie has made her way up over the top as well, another of our regular riders. So just taking a look for Millie. Is Millie on our climb? I think she is here. So we're just taking a look. Millie just making her way up the climb. We're going to go a little bit further up because I think we've got quite a few riders still around the group here. So Lily Swan up near the top of the climb. Looks like Tristan's not too far off the very top here. So I think our next group is going to be the one containing Hobson, Sims, as well as Tristan. GCC's on his way through. All this group though, this is going to be Hobson on his way in. Sims is second wheel here in the blue, and it is going to be the riders on the way in. I think Sims is just pushing on towards the front. Second wheel there is Tristan pushing his way up towards the front. GCC is going to come through in the next group back, I think, here. So GCC just a little bit further back on the climb. You can just see the chases on behind. So GCC on his way in towards that gantry coming through. Good ride, sir. Well done. And great to see so many riders making it in and through to the finish here. So Glorious makes it, and thought he wasn't going to make it. He has indeed. Next in, it's going to be Jess Evans. Jess coming through and over the top, just in front of plenty of other riders, making her way in and through the finish. Looking very, very good as well. I'm going to have a little bit of a look back for, I think, Millie, who is going to be in the next group of riders. Let's see where Millie is on our climb. I know she's making her way up, not too far off the top of this climb. In fact, by the look of it, yeah, certainly is. You can just see the gantry starting to come into sight. So another of our Downing coach riders, always the easy ones to come for us to pick out. So let's have a little look. It's going to be Tomlinson just making his way in. There's one or two riders just coming. Looks like Luke Taylor, Ryan Parker on his way in, Sutcliffe on his way in from the out of the saddle. Tomlinson going to be our next rider. We're going to follow through. Then we're going to see Mr. Hamilton, Millie Skinner. Looks like, you know, this is in here. Looks like Evans in the group as well. But it is going to be Tomlinson, our next rider in and through the line as he makes his way up. So it's going to be Tomlinson, and just behind him then is going to be Boo Hamilton. So Tomlinson goes through the line. Boo Hamilton is going to go over, leading in here Millie Skinner. Oh, just about rolling the riders on the way through. We're going to drop back a little bit here because the riders just making the way up on to the top of the climb here. And just want to make sure we get back far enough to catch up with the riders who are on the way up here. Looks like we've got a lot of our riders in already. Let's find out where Mr. Bolt is. He's always a good rider to watch on the way through. I'm going to just jump in with one of our riders on the way down at the far side. So let's see how Martin is doing. Where's our red beacon? One of the key men to have out on the course, making my life as well as all of our riders' life a little bit easier. Now, looks like Ali Akers up the road a little bit on her way, chasing Andy by the look of it. Isla Wolf on the climb as well. Looks like Hurst on his way up towards the bridge. Looks like Dean Downing in this group, Turnbull's in this group, Fulton's in here. We've got Horsey working his way up the climb as well. Goddard on his way in towards the gantry here. So I think it's going to be Scott who's going to go through next. So Scott goes underneath the gantry. Here's where I finish. It's going to be Goddard, the next of our riders, who's coming in. So Tom Scott going through. Goddard's going to be the next of our riders coming through in towards the finish. And we're going to just watch him on his way through. Good riding by Goddard as he heads in towards the finish. Our next rider out on course is going to be Dobson. Dobson coming through about 39 seconds up on Andy Hawes, a minute and 19 up on Dean as Dobson makes his way up. Next up is Andy. Make sure you follow Andy on Instagram. one of my favourite people to chat to. Andy having a night off from the horse talks tonight with no one to talk to. I don't believe that for a second. Andy could talk the hind legs of a donkey, and definitely very entertaining chats. Really enjoyed watching them. Go onto Instagram, follow Andy on Instagram for all of those chats. Andy enjoying his night off and pedaling his way pretty smoothly up here. Our next one we're going to watch as Andy comes into a Wars line is going to be Turnbull. Turnbull has been smooth all right, up with the leading group for a long time, then just dropping back a little bit. Nice lamprey style inspired kit. As you can see, the gantry up there in the finish, running for the MTS squad. Next up, one of our regular riders, Mr. Fulton. Good to see you, sir, out on the course. So Dave Fulton, currently kicking out 178 watts, and just backing up, I think, a little bit here. Heart rate just starting to drop down as he goes towards the line. The climb just easing off. So Fulton on his way in towards the gantry. Our next rider, as you see Fulton go through, he's going to be O'Brien. O'Brien, our next rider out on course, and keeping an eye on Johnny. Johnny Two Dogs chasing Jess. Sorry, it's got Jess going all the way through. So Jess, apologies, just got to get the screens right. So Jess O'Brien, another of our riders riding away up towards the top of the climb, looking very, very smooth at the top of Keith Hill. Going to see that gantry very, very shortly indeed in sight, and going to know that it's not too much longer before the ride is done. The top of this, it's a false flat really at 1 to 2%, makes life a little bit hard for the riders, but Jess on the way through just in front of Johnny Two Dogs Lightfoot. So it's Johnny on his way and finally making his way to the top of the climb, and Johnny, another of our regular riders in that green jersey. Good to see Johnny back out on the Donny chain gang. Nice matching bike. Now next up, and the man instrumental in making this happen, along with Russ and myself, it is coach himself, it is Dean Downing. And Dean, of course, one of the real legends of the peloton, and the main man when it comes to Downing Cycling's coaching team. And of course we've got lots of people involved in that as well. Going to get passed here by Mr. Hussein, who is coming in for a quick one here. So Hussein goes through in front of Dean. Dean Downing coming across the line just in front of Morton, and they're going through in front of Kai Hurst. I think just going to keep an eye on Mr. Hurst. Kai Hurst is our next rider approaching the line at the moment. So Kai just making his way in towards the finish. He's in front of a little group behind here, and I think two riders. I think he's going to be Big Man on his way up here, but he's got company, and that is going to be in the shape of that Imogen Wolf. Imogen, one of the really young riders out on the chain gang today, and Imogen doing a fantastic ride here, going up with Big Man from Zodiac, and riding the specialised bike, lightweight wheels on there. Good call on this climb. And is Big Man going to lead it out underneath the line? They're pushing hard to go underneath the gantry as they go up and underneath the line. Now we're going to take a little bit of a look back for our next riders. I think we're going to try and jump back to Becca Kingdom, who's on the climb, and she's been caught by the rain. Is Ali Akers in the range? Is as well now. Is Fraser in the rain? Fraser and Oral come through together. Now our next two riders through, and putting in a good ride there. Donahue just about to go underneath the line from the Barnsley Club. Our next rider we're going to focus on the way in, and this is going to be Isaac Witchard. A nice ride. Isaac just making his way in. Then it's going to be Andy Akers, our next rider out on the course. Andy managing to hold off the challenge. Normally he gets it handed to him by Ali, not to be today. So Ali Akers is through, and underneath the finish, Knight is our next rider on here. He's got company in the shape of Ali Akers, the legendary Ali Akers, legend definitely in their house, hopefully handing it to them, and definitely an inspiration, I think, to Ollie, one of the nicest riders in the bunch, that is for sure. So Ali at the moment just pushing on a little bit, and Knight's lost the wheel here. He's sitting at 7-8 metres behind. And he's going to need to just push that pace up. Ali pushing on for the line here, up to 5 watts per kilo at the moment. And Ali looking very, very smooth on her way in. Just distanced the Knight behind. So Knight working harder, has been distant, sitting 2 seconds down now. So Ali Akers is going to be the next of our riders through the finish there, and it's going to be Knight now kicking out 7 watts per kilo. They're going to come through in front of Rodney. I think Knight might have left this too late here. Can he go past Ali as they come under the line? No, Ali's going to take it. Then it's going to be Knight. And they're going back down now to watch Rodney on the hillside here. Rodney tucked low over the bars here. And this is, of course, one of our favourites. Sir Rodney, of course. And on his way up here, he's just in front of Howis. Nice set of bits, mate, on the avatar as well. And if you've not watched before, you can just see here the guys on here. Our times are up for the hill climb. Fastest time of the day, Mason Hyman of the Zappy team at 8:26. Then rowing coming in at 9:50. Top Cat coming through with a 10:24. He's our women's leader. That is Cam Stefosi rider. That's Katie Scott. So Scott taking the top of position in the women's ride up and over the line, putting in a fantastic race. Some very interesting performances on there. Our riders will be scrolling their way through to see where they finish. Holliman and Scott doing the business and getting it done behind. Looks like Chris of Real New Alliance MTB team just on his way up there, and Chris, of course, a regular mountain bike, but also a very handy rider on the Zwift as well. That looks just like my avatar, mate. Solid, proper mountain biking. This is Killingworth. He's on his way in, and we're just going to drop back to Kingdom, who's our rider now onto the final slopes of the climb. So a few more riders to bring in to the finish here as Kingdom makes her way up the slope. So you can hear the rain falling. Fortunately, Wahoo, one of our key sponsors at Downing Cycling, not yet having perfected putting the raindrops in. Don't want to give them any ideas, really, to be honest. I think there's enough moisture from the sweat from plenty of our riders on the way through. Today, our riders doing a fantastic job out there. None of this, of course, is possible without the work of our fantastic sponsors. We've got to say a massive thank you to HMT Hospitals and Mallorca Cycling, to OTE for keeping us all fueled up on the way through the ride and keeping me fueled up in commentary. Big thank you to Grand Tour Coffee. They're doing the business time and time again. Make sure you go on there, support the people who support your sport with your tons of coffee, let's face it. Make sure you go see the guys. Pinarello and Halo, of course, keeping Russ running smoothly on all of his rides. So as Kingdom makes their way in towards that gantry, the rain looks like it's stopped. And we're going to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, particularly to those who've sponsored us with prizes on the way through, to the Bad Dog Brewing Company, of course, to Zwift, who have made it possible. Remember, all of this is made possible because our sponsors look after Downing Cycling. Downing Cycling, myself, Matt Payne, are out for Full Speed Events. Russ and Dean doing this all to keep the community together, to give a great ride for everybody, to make sure that chain gang keeps on going, because we know everybody loves the Donny chain gang, even though it's absolutely brutal on the way through. So as Hill is making his way in, I'm going to start to wrap up tonight's broadcast. We're going to catch our last riders coming in. I think Mr. Elvin's out on the slopes at the moment. He's looking nice and smooth there, 90 watts per kilo, and looking good at the moment. I've got to say, it's good to have Wayne a regular out here, and it shows you, even if you've got the gear like the Tron bike and you've ridden the miles, sometimes the pace is just too quick. Remember, we've seen people like Ben Swift out on the legendary Donny Chain Gang doing the business, get it done, and riding around with the groups, and that's what we like to see. With the big hill at the back, smashing it apart. Wayne House Company, though, and that is in the shape here of Andy Verrill, a man who haven't seen out riding for a little while. Always good to see Andy, though, out on the bike, even if it's only virtual Andy, and looking smooth on the climb. Just going past the side there of Mr. Elvin and Andy out of the saddle at the moment. 196, 200 watts, 157 beats per minute, 68 revs per minute, and just out of the saddle there. Just drop it in, getting those revs kicked up. It does level off very, very shortly indeed. Next up is going to be Mr. Johnson, and looks like Carl just shedding Martin as they went in towards the back of the climb, and Johnson, one of our bigger riders, see the avatar there with forearms looking like Captain America, makes my forearms look dinky. You know, they're definitely not up to yours on there, mate, are they? That's for sure. And Mr. Johnson on his way in up the climb. Behind is Sanderson. Sanderson in front of our traditional red beacon in the shape of a bolt. So Sanderson now on this final climb. And as a suggestion, Mr. Sanderson, maybe turn the power on your Zwift game down. Most of the pros ride at about 25 to 30% braking power. If you're in competition, you sometimes have to lift that to 50%. If you put it at 100%, this 10% climb is going to hurt. 37 revs per minute, that's got to hurt, mate. So good luck to the top. I hope you've got plenty of a recovery drink already as we focus in on our last man, our red beacon, our Lantern Rouge rider. It is Martin Bolt making his way up here. So from me, Matt Payne, from Martin out of the back of the group, from Russ, from Dean at Downing Cycling. Please remember, guys, if you've enjoyed this, get in touch. Make sure that you get in touch. If you want to get your ride covered, get in touch with me. That's Matt at fullspeedevents.com. If you want to get involved with the coaching, make sure that you get in touch with Dean. And if you want to get in touch with Russ, don't forget all of the Donny chain gang sticks together by Russ's fair hands. That's Russ at Downing Cycling. So for me, Matt Payne, sat here in the studio. Have a great couple of days. I'm looking forward to catching up with everybody when we go to London once again, twice into the capital in a week. But we're back for the Greater London Flat. No big hill at the end, I can promise you this time. So a big thank you to Zwift, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage. Make sure you go onto the Facebook page for the links. Make sure you go onto the Facebook page and tell us what you think of the ride. Tell us whether you ever want to come back to Keith Hill again. From me, Matt Payne, good night.